In the heart of Nyansaland, where rolling hills met golden fields, there lived a farmer named Bobakintu. Each day, before the first rooster crowed, he would trudge to his land with a battered hoe over his shoulder. But unlike other farmers who grew maize or millet, Bobakintu's livelihood came from the earth itself. He dug up fertile soil, loaded it onto his patient old donkey, and sold it to villagers who wanted richer farmlands. Though it seemed like humble work, Bobakintu's trade was surprisingly steady. The land in his region was dry and rocky, but the soil from his farm was dark and rich, making it highly sought after by other farmers. He had no need for gold or silver. His trade put food on his table, clothed his children, and kept his life simple yet fulfilling. To him, wealth was not in glittering stones but in honest labor and a full belly at the end of the day. One morning, under the weary shade of a baobab tree, Bobakintu struck something strange. His hoe scraped against a hard surface, and as he knelt to unearth it, he found a stone unlike any he had ever seen. It shimmered even in the soft dawnlight, capturing the rising sun and reflecting it in 100 fractured colors. "A beautiful stone," he murmured, wiping the dirt off its surface. To Bobakintu, beauty was worth appreciating, but nothing more. So, with a smile, he took a piece of rope, tied the gleaming stone around his donkey's neck like an ornament, and continued his walk. As Bobakintu passed through the village later that afternoon, heads turned. The villagers admired the glistening stone on his donkey, whispering among themselves about its strange glow. But it was the merchant, Jabari, who took special notice. He ran a small shop near the marketplace, dealing in trinkets and fabrics. When he saw the glimmering stone bobbing against the donkey's neck, his merchant's instinct stirred. "Old man, what is that around your donkey's neck?" Jabari called, stepping out of his shop. Bobakintu chuckled. "A fine stone I found in my field this morning. It caught my eye, so I thought to make my donkey handsome for once." Jabari's eyes twinkled. "I'll buy it from you. 50 cedis. Bobakintu scratched his chin. To him, the stone had no value beyond its beauty. 50 cedis was more than what he made in a week of selling soil. Without hesitation, he handed it over. Jabari grinned. The moment Jabari hung the diamond at the entrance of his shop, something remarkable happened. The stone caught the sunlight at midday, scattering dazzling reflection across his wooden store, making it glow like a treasure trove. Passers-by, even those who had never stepped into his shop before, now paused to admire the glimmering jewel. Women buying spices would glance at it longingly, children would stare wide-eyed, and even the elders would stroke their beards in appreciation. Business flourished. More people came, drawn not just by curiosity but by the quiet promise of fortune that the stone seemed to whisper. To Jabari, it was no longer just a trinket, it was a charm, a silent invitation that pulled customers in like bees to honey. Days passed. Then, one afternoon, a traveling jeweler, Mr. Kwame Mensah, arrived in Nyansaland. He entered Jabari's shop, scanning the room with the sharp eyes of a man who had spent years handling gold, silver, and gems. But when his gaze landed on the hanging stone, he froze. "What is this?" he asked, stepping closer. Jabari shrugged. "A farmer sold it to me. A fine decoration, don't you think?" Kwame Mensah's heart pounded. He recognized it instantly, not just a stone, but a diamond. A diamond so pure that kings and sultans would pay a fortune for it. "I'll buy it," he said, trying to steady his voice. "But name your price wisely." Jabari smirked. 100 cedis. Kwame Mensah hesitated. He was a businessman, after all, and bargaining was in his blood. 80 cedis, he countered. Jabari shook his head. 100 or nothing. Kwame Mensah sighed. He had traveled for hours and was tired. "I'll return tomorrow," he said, thinking he could convince Jabari to settle for 90. That same evening, as the wind carried the scent of roasting maize through the village, another traveler arrived, a second jeweler, Mr. Opoku, whose cart had broken down nearby. While waiting for repairs, he wandered into Jabari's shop. Like Kwame Mensah, Opoku's eyes widened at the sight of the stone. Unlike his rival, however, he wasted no time. "That stone, is it for sale?" Jabari, still smug from his earlier negotiations, nodded. 100 cedis. Without hesitation, Mr. Opoku reached into his pouch, counted out the money, and handed it over. "Pleasure doing business," he said, wrapping the diamond carefully in a silk cloth. The next morning, Kwame Mensah returned, ready to finalize the deal. He strolled into Jabari's shop, confident. "I'll take the stone," he said, placing 90 cedis on the counter. Jabari leaned back and folded his arms. "You're too late. Someone bought it last night." Kwame Mensah's face drained of color. "What?" "Yes," Jabari said. "For 100 cedis." The jeweler gasped, gripping the edge of the counter. "You fool. That was no ordinary stone, it was a diamond worth more than a king's palace." Jabari raised an eyebrow, amused. "Oh. And yet, despite knowing its worth, you still haggled over 20 cedis. Tell me, sir, who is the real fool here?" Kwame Danso stood in stunned silence, the weight of the merchant's words settling in his chest. He left the shop, his feet dragging, his mind replaying the moment he had let fortune slip through his fingers. That day, 3 lessons were etched into his heart. First, never miss an opportunity. A golden chance rarely knocks twice. The farmer had the diamond, but he let it go because he didn't recognize its value. The merchant had it too, yet he remained blind to what he possessed. But the jeweler, he knew, and still, he waited. Hesitation is often the silent thief of fortune. Second, be stingy only where necessary. There is wisdom in bargaining, but there is also wisdom in knowing when to pay the price. Kwame Danso had the means to buy the diamond, yet he let pride and greed blur his vision. Saving 20 cedis cost him a lifetime of wealth. And finally, never delay your work. Time favors the bold. If Kwame had acted the moment he recognized the diamond's worth, he would have secured it without question. Instead, his delay became another man's triumph. A moment of hesitation can cost more than a lifetime of effort. As Jabari watched Kwame shuffle away, he chuckled and adjusted his wares. Life had just taught a lesson the hard way. And so the story goes, as the elders say, a fool and his fortune are soon parted, but a wise man takes his chance when it comes.